In the fading twilight of June 2018, a photograph swept across the internet that broke the hearts of an entire generation. It showed a life-size mascot of Geoffrey the Giraffe, suitcase in hand, waving a lonely goodbye in front of a completely gutted, dimly lit retail store. To millions of parents and children, it felt like the tragic end of an innocent era. But inside the closed-door boardrooms of Wall Street, there was no sentimentality, only the cold, calculated aftermath of one of the most disastrous financial blunders in modern corporate history. How could a beloved retail titan, a brand that once controlled nearly 20% of the entire American toy market and generated billions of dollars in annual revenue, vanish into thin air? The popular narrative blames online shopping, pointing a finger at digital disruption and changing consumer habits. But the truth is far more sinister, far more complex, and deeply tied to a single, fatal decision. A multi-billion-dollar financial trap that guaranteed the giant's demise long before its final store doors were locked forever. To truly comprehend the scale of this collapse, you have to go back to a time when the retail landscape looked fundamentally different. In 1948, a 23-year-old World War II veteran named Charles Lazarus opened a small baby furniture shop in Washington, D.C., called Children's Supermart. Lazarus possessed an almost prophetic understanding of demographic trends. He foresaw the massive post-war baby boom and quickly realized that while parents bought cribs and strollers once, they bought toys constantly. He restructured his inventory, stocking his shelves with plastic trucks, dolls, and board games, and in 1957, he rebranded his expanding enterprise as Toys R Us, deliberately flipping the letter backward to mimic a child's handwriting. Lazarus did not just open a toy store, he invented an entirely new business model known in retail economics as the category killer. Before Toys R Us, people bought toys in small corner shops or in dedicated holiday sections of downtown department stores. Lazarus reimagined toy retail on an industrial scale, constructing giant, warehouse-sized buildings filled from floor to ceiling with endless aisles of playthings. Walking into a Toys R Us felt like entering a magical, overwhelming palace where every toy imaginable existed under one roof. The scale gave Lazarus immense power over toy manufacturers. If Hasbro, Mattel, or Lego wanted national distribution in America, they had to play by Charles Lazarus's rules. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, Toys R Us was an unstoppable commercial behemoth, operating hundreds of stores worldwide and etching its catchy jingle, "I don't want to grow up, I'm a Toys R Us kid," deep into the American cultural psyche. Yet beneath that glittering facade of unstoppable growth, the seeds of vulnerability were already taking root. By the late 1990s, giant general retailers like Walmart and Target began using toys as loss leaders during the critical holiday shopping season. They were willing to sell popular action figures and board games at a steep discount, or even at a financial loss, just to draw parents through their doors, knowing those parents would buy groceries, electronics, and household goods on the same trip. Toys R Us, which relied almost exclusively on toy margins to survive, suddenly found its pricing power under attack. But the far greater threat was emerging not in suburban strip malls, but on computer screens. As the dot-com era gathered steam, Toys R Us made its first catastrophic misstep in the realm of e-commerce. During the fateful holiday season of 1999, orders flooded into the company's newly launched website. The digital infrastructure simply could not handle the demand. Warehouses were overwhelmed, server networks crashed, and tens of thousands of orders were left completely unfulfilled. On Christmas morning, thousands of children opened empty boxes or received nothing at all, triggering a public relations nightmare and an investigation by the Federal Trade Commission that ended in steep financial penalties. Traumatized by the operational disaster and desperate for a quick, painless digital fix, executive leadership looked for a shortcut. In the summer of 2000, Toys R Us entered into what appeared to be a brilliant strategic alliance with a rapidly growing online bookseller that was aggressively expanding into new product categories, Amazon. Under the terms of a 10-year deal, Toys R Us agreed to pay Amazon $50 million annually, plus a cut of its sales, to become the exclusive seller of toys and baby products on the Amazon platform. In exchange, Toys R Us handed over its entire online presence. Customers typing toysrus.com into their web browsers were automatically redirected to Amazon's portal. At first glance, it seemed like a win-win partnership. Toys R Us supplied the inventory, brand prestige, and toy expertise, while Amazon managed the website, customer logistics, and digital traffic. But in reality, it was a Faustian bargain. By surrendering its website, Toys R Us voluntarily gave up the ability to build its own e-commerce capabilities, gather its own customer data, or develop its own fulfillment networks during the most pivotal decade in digital history. Even worse, Amazon used those years to observe and analyze every nuance of toy supply chains, pricing dynamics, and customer purchasing habits. By 2003, Amazon realized that relying on a single toy partner limited selection and profit potential. Amazon began quietly allowing competing toy sellers, third-party merchants, and major brands onto its platform, directly breaching the exclusivity clause. Toys R Us was furious and dragged Amazon to court in 2004. After years of bitter litigation, a judge ruled in favor of Toys R Us, terminating the contract and awarding the company a $51 million settlement. But while Toys R Us won a modest check in court, it lost the digital war. It had wasted 6 critical years on the sidelines of the digital revolution. When it finally launched an independent website in 2006, it was hopelessly behind, trying to build a digital house while Amazon was already constructing an empire. Yet as damaging as the Amazon partnership was, it was not the blow that killed the company. The fatal wound arrived in 2005 through a towering financial transaction that sealed the destiny of Toys R Us forever. Sensing that the company's stock price was undervalued and eyeing its vast, lucrative real estate holdings across prime suburban America, 3 giant private equity firms, Bain Capital, KKR, and Vornado Realty Trust, decided to take Toys R Us private. The purchase price was set at an astonishing $6.6 billion. How did these private equity firms pay for a multi-billion-dollar deal? They did not use $6.6 billion of their own cash. Instead, they executed a regressive maneuver known as a leveraged buyout, or LBO. The buyers put up only about $1.3 billion of their own money and borrowed the remaining $5.3 billion from Wall Street banks and credit markets. Then came the cruel twist of corporate finance. The private equity firms did not keep that mountain of debt on their own books. Instead, they transferred the $5.3 billion debt directly onto the balance sheet of Toys R Us itself. Think about what that actually meant in human terms. Imagine buying a lavish house, taking out a massive mortgage to pay for it, and then forcing the house itself, or the tenant living inside, to make your monthly mortgage payments. Overnight, a company that was still fundamentally profitable, generating healthy cash flows and bringing joy to millions, was transformed into an economic hostage. The debt burden meant Toys R Us had to pay between $400 million and $500 million every single year just to cover the interest payments on the money used to buy it. That worked out to more than $1 million every single day, disappearing into thin air before a single toy could be purchased, sold, or stocked. Imagine running a business where every dollar of profit you earn is instantly sucked out to pay off the mortgage your new owners took out to buy you. Between 2005 and 2017, Toys R Us paid more than $4 billion strictly in interest and financing fees. That was $4 billion that could have been used to completely revamp its outdated stores, upgrade lighting and fixtures, train store associates, build state-of-the-art e-commerce fulfillment centers, or cut prices to crush competitors like Target and Walmart. Instead, those billions went straight to servicing Wall Street debt while the stores slowly began to rot from the inside out. While Amazon was burning billions of dollars in capital to build fast delivery networks, and while Walmart was modernizing its digital storefronts, Toys R Us was trapped in a financial straitjacket. Walking into a Toys R Us store in 2015 felt like stepping into a time capsule from 1995. The aisles were narrow, the fluorescent lights flickered, the carpet was stained, and the Wi-Fi was non-existent. Parents would walk down the aisles, use their smartphones to scan a barcode on a board game, see that Amazon or Walmart had it for $10 cheaper with free delivery, and walk right out of the store without buying a thing. Toys R Us had effectively been transformed into a free physical showroom for Amazon. The business model was starving, yet the private equity firms continued to collect tens of millions of dollars in management fees and transaction advisory costs every year. The company was locked in what financial analysts call perpetual refinancing mode. Every couple of years, management had to renegotiate terms with credit markets just to roll over billions in maturing debt, leaving zero margin for error. If a single holiday season fell short of aggressive projections, the entire house of cards would come tumbling down. That fatal tipping point arrived in the fall of 2017. Ahead of the critical holiday shopping season, rumors began circulating on Wall Street that Toys R Us was considering restructuring its debt. Panic spread like wildfire among toy manufacturers. Fearing that the chain would default on its bills, nearly 40% of the company's suppliers, including major manufacturers who relied heavily on the chain, demanded cash payment in advance before shipping a single box of holiday inventory. Toys Us simply did not have the cash. Forced into a corner, on September 18, 2017, the retail icon filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, hoping to secure $2 billion in debtor-in-possession financing to keep its shelves stocked for Christmas. But the 2017 holiday season was an unmitigated disaster. Competitors like Walmart, Target, and Amazon aggressively slashed toy prices to record lows, using their massive capital scale to undercut Toys R Us at every turn. Toys R Us missed its holiday profit projections by a staggering $250 million. By March 2018, the lenders lost all patience. Seeing more value in liquidating the assets than in attempting another turnaround, the creditors pulled the plug. The bankruptcy court granted approval to liquidate the entire American operation. Across the country, signs reading "Everything must go" and "Store closing" went up in front of 800 locations. 33,000 workers lost their jobs, many of them receiving zero severance pay after decades of loyal service, while private equity executives walked away having extracted hundreds of millions in financial fees over the lifetime of the deal. When people look back at the death of Toys R Us, they often summarize it as a simple tale of digital disruption, a story of an old-school retailer that got swept away by the unstoppable tide of Amazon. But that narrative obscures the true, far more uncomfortable reality. Toys R Us did not die because kids stopped playing with physical toys, nor did it die purely because people preferred shopping on their phones. In fact, total toy sales in America were actively rising during the very years Toys R Us collapsed. Toys R Us died because it was stripped of its ability to adapt. It was shackled to a $5 billion financial anchor created by Wall Street engineering, a debt burden so monstrous that it turned a healthy, profitable icon into a hollowed-out shell incapable of making the investments required to survive in the 21st century. It serves as a stark, enduring warning to the corporate world. In an era of rapid technological shift, cash and agility are the lifeblood of survival. And when you prioritize financial engineering over customer experience, even the most beloved empire can be reduced to empty shelves and quiet, darkened aisles.